everyone. Welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan, joined as always by Eagles Hall of Fame left tackle Trey Thomas. If you're new to the show, nothing looks really strange right now. If you've been following the show since week 2, when Trey Thomas has talked about undefeated season for the Philadelphia Eagles, you'll notice he no longer has the Miami Dolphins number 72 jersey behind him in the backdrop. Trey, when you lose your first game, sometimes it tends to be ugly and you fall hard. And I think Commanders 32, Eagles 21 is pretty indicative of that.
Yeah. It was a tough game, man. It was just one of those games where nothing worked. I mean, when you can go back and you look at A.J. Brown only having one catch, I felt like Jalen Hurts' timing was off a lot throughout the game. His defense, our secondary, we went back to playing 10 yards off. It was a tough one, but we're going to get into it.
Yeah, we'll carve it up. We'll go through the X's and O's. Adam, there's a lot of culprits here, right? There's four turnovers, really 3. The last one we won't really make a big deal of. There was bad third down defense. There was bad run defense.
Terrible.
And, there were also some questionable calls. That contributes too, but you let a team hang around and then go ahead. And that's what happened here. The Eagles just they didn't look like the team that they looked like for 8 weeks. And we've said that you're going to have a game like that, and they did.
Yeah, they had a clunker, though they're a Quez Watkins fumble away. It's clearly a fumble.
Yes.
From potentially scoring, taking a lead. But look, they turned it over 4 times. You can't do that. They'd won the turnover battle in every game previous, and this one they did not. Give Washington credit. Give Scott Turner credit. He called a phenomenal game. You blame Heineke for that thrown to double coverage on the pick by Gardner Johnson. But overall, he played an efficient game. Trey's right. The soft coverage, it's okay. They gave up the run defense was an embarrassment. But the pass coverage, that shocked me. They gave up so much room. It was like they were scared of McLaurin. He still got them, man.
Yeah, I thought the soft coverage in the first half, not great. And then I thought Washington actually made some good plays against better coverage in the second half. We'll get into that. I want to ask both of you guys this question because I was sort of fiddling around with this in my head. Did the Eagles lose? Did Washington win this game, or did the Eagles lose it? I think for a lot of Eagles fans are going to say they lost it. But, you look at the first 3 turnovers, not terrible throws, obviously, by Jalen Hurts. The one in A.J. Brown's hands was taken away by the defensive back there, who was number 25. Quez made a really nice throw to Quez Watkins. Quez picks it up. He starts running. Then he gets hit and he drops it. And then, of course, there's a face mask on Dallas Goedert that was not picked up by the refs, which really altered how that play went. So, Trey, did Washington win this game, or did the Eagles lose it?
I think Washington won this game.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I think Washington came out there and they made the plays. Because that could have easily, with the A.J. Brown interception, that could have easily been, all right, A.J., if we would have looked at this before, A.J. would have made that catch, would have snatched the ball out of it. But Washington, they continued to scrap, and the defender continues to scrap for the ball, gets the turnover against the Dallas Goedert play. Yeah, you had a face mask, but again, hustle, going out there and making a big play, trying to strip the ball. Yeah, you gave up the face mask, but again, you're playing hard. And then with the Quez Watkins, he gets up again, hustling, not giving up on the play, and then now you get a strip fumble. So, yeah, I think Washington went out there and they won the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No one's saying the Eagles played flawlessly. Certainly they made mistakes. But, Adam, I agree with Trey. I think Washington came ready to play. They had a plan. They actually did what they've been doing the last few weeks as far as trying to pound the run, set up play action, and the momentum changing plays went to Washington. I thought that they just played better and won it.
I thought they scouted the Eagles well. They grinded the tape. They could see that the Eagles have a major problem stopping the run inside, outside zone, trap plays. It was crazy, and they were relentless. They were like, okay, Eagles, until you stop, we're going to continue to do it. They couldn't get off the field, and there were a couple times where the Eagles said, okay, we're going to drop our safeties in. Well, that's when they ran crossers and got the Eagles against the pass. Look, great job of advanced scouting by Washington's pro people. They got the Eagles badly. They have a major problem right now against the run. It's not a bad problem. It's a major problem. And, oh, by the way, who did they face on Sunday? Jonathan Taylor, who ran for nearly 200 yards on Sunday against the Raiders.
Yep. And then, of course, down the road, not too shortly after, you'll have the Packers. And after that, you got King Henry, who you're going to have to figure out how to stop as well. So, you know, obviously some warning signs, but we've seen all of those warning signs all year long. The Eagles had been able to overcome them. This time they were not able to. I want to go back to something Jason Avant said, not in this pregame show, but it was actually the week before against Texans. And I've been thinking about it for a lot. This is a very strange part of the schedule for the Eagles, Trey, and where they had a bye week, then they played 2 games in 4 days, and then they were off for 11 days. And Jason said he just thought that from a routine standpoint, that's really difficult. And, you know, maybe the common fan says suck it up, but that when you're a ball player and you're in a routine, it's almost like you had 2 bye weeks, 2 games in between that, and it's hard to try to be in your routine. Can you understand that kind of line of thinking?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does throw off your timing, you know, and it's all about timing, staying in your routine. Like you said, you have two games in 4 days, and then now you have another long break. You're coming off of a bye week. You know, all of that does play into it because today seemed like, you know, over the past couple games, it just seems like you're coming off of the bye week. Mm-hmm. You know, where, you know, I have to go back to the schedule. I can't remember. Who did they play coming out of the bye week?
They played, there was the Steelers, then they played the
they played the Steelers.
Thursday, right?
Yeah, so you played the Steelers, and they looked a lot sharper against the Steelers, and then when you went and played the Texans at first, it was kind of like, all right, it had a little drag to it, like it felt like you were just coming out of a bye week, and then this game here, it just seemed like things it wasn't quite as sharp as what you would expect for a team that's had so much time off that should be coming out ready to go.
Yeah. So we'll see. Now they kind of get back into their regular routine. It'll be a little bit of a short turnaround since they played Monday night to prepare for the Indianapolis Colts, who obviously got a win in Jeff Saturday's head coaching debut, and Jonathan Taylor looked pretty good. In fact, Adam sent me a text in the middle of the game, like, what's Jonathan Taylor going to do to this team, the way they're defending against Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. So let's get into a couple of things. We'll talk about the Eagles offense against against the Commander D, and then vice versa, then take a big picture look at what the one loss means for them now. As far as the offense, Adam, you know, it's strange because in the first half, they only had, I think, 4 possessions, and then really three real ones because the last possession, there wasn't that much time left. They score touchdowns in their first 2, right? So they come out looking pretty good. And they were doing it passing. They came out passing. And again, I know a lot of people feel that Jalen Hurts threw a ball into double coverage, but we have to be fair. He's thrown that ball. We have talked about Jalen Hurts trusting A.J. Brown to make catches all year long. And just 2 weeks ago against the Steelers, he made a similar type of throw into double coverage. A.J. Brown gets it. So I don't have an issue with him trying to find A.J. Brown. I don't have an issue with the throw. Again, I just thought the Commanders made a great play on that.
Yeah, and you look at the first half. This is incredible. I don't know what the Commanders' record for running first half plays. Mm-hmm. 51 offensive plays to just the Eagles 19. Though when the Eagles had it, they moved the ball really well.
Right.
But their inability to get off the field, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They had a ton of first downs rushing. You know, they've not been a very good third down team. Mm-hmm. But they just had a plan. It's very clear. They were like, we're going to run against them. If they stop us, we're in trouble. We're not going to ask Heineke to throw the ball a lot. That they know that you can't ask him to do that. He's not the type of quarterback. And it worked. The Eagles just could not get up the field. It was crazy how great they were in third downs. They were 9 of 12 in the first half in third down.
Right. You're right. You know what? By the way, I should have flipped this. We should talk about the Eagles defense first, not their offense in Jalen Hurts. The defense was problematic. We saw that. But Adam, this is vintage what you and I talked about in the podcast leading up to this week and then the pregame show. It looks like Washington did a great job running the ball, but the stats say no, they didn't. And we brought this up during the pregame show. They run in high volumes, but they only average 3.1 yards per carry. Brian Robinson, 3.3 per carry. That's not great in the NFL. Antonio Gibson, 3.1 yards per carry. So, but they don't give up on it. They devote to it, and it does help them set up where I think the Eagles really got hurt, and that's play action. There were times that Washington came out with 2 tight ends, and we're going to establish run. But nope, bam, they fake it, and then they hit the Eagles at the edges.
A ton of 12 personnel. In fact, I thought with Dotson back, they ran some 11, but mostly 12. And the other thing is, you know, Logan Thomas is healthy now. They got John Bates, who's a decent player. They got the kid we talked about in the pregame, who had one play. I think might have got called back, 87, the rookie tight end who played quarterback in college. But
oh, right.
It was amazing to see them not only not stop the run, they could not get off the field. It was striking. But as you said, though, all of that, this game was winnable. If they don't turn it over, they're probably going to win it. That's the craziness of teams that run the ball like this.
Right.
You're taking so much. You're trying to wear down the defense, and that's great. But if you don't score every time, it doesn't really matter. And they didn't. Joey Sly, though, wow.
Yeah, definitely. Joey Sly had some. It seems like every kicker makes his career high against the Eagles. This goes back to like Matt Bryant. No, I just feel like it always had. There have been others, by the way, but it just feels like it's always against the Eagles. Trey, I've said for quite a while this year, and it finally manifested, but the attack plan to try to beat the Eagles or hang with them is to have blocking tight ends who can also catch a little bit, and to do what Washington did, which is pound you with the run. Then you eventually set that up with some play action. You attack the team on the edges. And then if you have some deep shots, you do it. And that's exactly what Washington did. Again, I know everybody's fixated on the run defense, but 152 yards is a lot of yards, but 3.1 per carry is not great. I felt the Eagles were more hurt on the response, what happened after they would establish the run, and that was play action pass and the deep pass.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When you go back and you look at it and you just look at the track of plays, and you have 4 drives in this game that had over 10 plays, where you had 12, 13 plays, you had a 16 play drive. I mean, that right there does not, how can you win against that? When the offense is going out there and they're sustaining these long drives, you have to find a way to get off the field. And again, like you said, a lot of it was running, and then here comes the play action. There was really good protection. For this to be an offensive line, going into this game, we were talking about all the injuries that was on this offensive line. And how our defensive line should go out there and feast. Sweat goes out there and has a sack fumble at the beginning. But after that, this offensive line held it down for the most part. I mean, they came out there and was just like, all right, yes, we have all these injuries, but what we're going to do is what we do well is just going to run this ball down your throat. And then here we go, a couple play action plays. And then, when he did have to just do a traditional drop back, I felt like the offensive line held up pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I look at the way how many they were, like 7 of 9 on third down in the first half, and then it became even more. At one point, it was 12 of 16. So, but they finished 12 of 21. So the Eagles did a much better job on third down in the second half, but then they couldn't score points after their first touchdown because they were turning the ball over. So people have said Jonathan Gannon has to adjust. Joe, I don't know what adjustment he could have made. This team has been loose against the run all year long. I don't. Is there something, Trey, that, because I did see in the first quarter, Heineke completed some passes against their zone on third down, and then he started playing some 2-man in the second quarter. Guess what? Heineke completed some passes against that. So he definitely changed his coverages. He did try to do different things. That's why, again, I say Washington won it. But what do you think if you're John Gannon here?
I think you have to go back to letting you can't play with all that cushion, giving up all that ground. Mm-hmm. When you give up that much space, especially with the cornerbacks that we have, they're at their best when they can get up there and throw the receiver's timing off. But when they play off like that, I don't care if you play cover 2, man, zone, whatever you're going to play. If you give up that much space, I mean, the receivers are going to pick you apart. And that's exactly what happened when you go back and you look at it. And I mean, we're playing off 8, 5, 6, 7 yards off of the receiver. I mean, that's not a winning recipe for us. It's like you're trying to protect them from getting beat over the top, but you end up getting beat anyway because you're giving up so much room.
Yeah. The last play of the game, well, not the last turnover, but Taylor Heineke, and again, Taylor Heineke was not very good in the second half. I think Jonathan did make adjustments, but Heineke scrambles, he gives himself up, and BG, I felt like Aikman was trying to cover for BG, saying, he tried to avoid him, he even slid, but I mean, the guy's knees were on the ground, you just run around him. I thought that was a really bad penalty, and if he doesn't commit it and they punt there, the Eagles got a chance.
I know. It happens. It was a mistake. Look, you're right, because the rule as a player, if he's going to kneel, if he's going to give himself up, you got to pull up. And it wasn't just a momentum play. He just sometimes this happens with players. They just want to tackle the guy. Look, there were some very shaky calls. The one where they called the Eagles on the personal foul. Clearly, he got him in bounds, not out of bounds. Thought ESPN did a good job of clearly showing that on the video. Both teams got job calls. Now, some were by the letter of the rules, some were correct.
Right.
But the bottom line is so many miscues, bad mistakes, uncharacteristic from this team. But yet, if Watkins doesn't fumble it, I'm pretty certain they would have gone and scored. That would have changed the course of the game.
I was about to say that's the turning point of the game, right, Trey? I mean, Watkins. I don't even know how that happened. First of all, it didn't even seem like he had to dive for the ball to go to the ground. I thought it was a really nice throw to Hurts, but maybe he just lost his balance. But you get up, you got to secure that ball.
Yeah, and I get it. You're just trying to make a play. You feel like, all right, you know what? Something has to happen. I'm going to get up and let's try to take it to the house. That was just a tough play. And I know right now he's just beating himself up over it because, I mean, if he would have just stayed down, this is a totally different outcome, but you're trying to make a play and you're trying to win the game, and it ended up costing.
Yeah, no doubt. Trey, as far as what you saw from the defensive line, the Eagles D line, again, Washington did not have a very high yards per carry. They devoted to the run, but did you see out of guys that you thought were out of gaps, or did the linebackers maybe not do a great job when all right, let's give an example. Robinson scores a touchdown where Fletch is trying to drag him the other way, and he stretches his arm out. Fletch was there. He was trying to do it. The guy just stretched his arm out and scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that the backs just ran hard. They just pounded up in there and they tried to get whatever they could from out of the run. And it wasn't any there were only a couple of big plays of runs that went over maybe 8-9 yards. They were all like 2, 3, 4, 5 yards.
Yes.
They weren't any big breakout runs.
Nope, just 1 yard, one run for 11 yards. That was 11 yards was the longest run of the game.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. When it's just constantly pounding, chipping away, that's tough, and I think that a game like this, you're definitely missing Big Jordan in the middle. When you need somebody, when a team is just out there just running on you, you're definitely missing a big nose guard that can control the center and can control the middle of that offense.
What do they do from here? Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, they started, I don't know if you know this, they actually started 3D tackles. Tui Pelotu started.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good sign. He's really a fourth tackle. And Trey's so right. I get that Jordan Davis has his issues, technique. Greg had a good note that based on what he had seen and heard, he can only play 3 or 4 snaps at a time, then come off the field because he's just not there yet with his conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but they need a body. They need someone. He's 360, 350. They need somebody. Right now, their run defense is so pathetically bad. They're out of their gaps. They play without any discipline. I just don't know if they could stop anyone who's committed to the run like this.
That was a good spot that you had about Tui Pelotu starting. I guess he started as the nose in that five-man front. It seems like they're reluctant to want to use Javon Hargrave there, and I can only imagine that's because they really want to use Hargrave as they don't think he's we've actually said it many times this year. It's not like he's much better against the run. He has become a natural 3 technique since coming over here, Trey. I mean, I know he had the experience and Tui Pelotu played some nose at USC, but I guess this is where I say, what does Jonathan Gannon do until Jordan Davis gets back?
Yeah, I don't know.
More base?
Yeah. Say what now?
More base, do you get extra linebacker on the field?
No, you can't do that because then you get picked apart, because you're still going to have to play some type of form of nickel. So, I really don't know. You're going to have guys that's going to have to play a little bit more discipline. You got to get a safety that can get down in there and doesn't mind putting his nose in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to come to grips, the reality, and we did for the first 8 weeks, that the Eagles are not going to be a great run defense. They're going to have times where they're leaky, and that's why it's really important for them to be a ball control offense, to get leads, which they've done well. And I think you guys summarized it best. They were on their way to being able to take this game over on that Quez Watkins play. And once he fumbled, and then if you want to factor in the Dallas Goedert fumble, which, the guy's getting face masks. That's kind of a raw
bad.
deal there. That's not
Yeah.
going to happen there week after week, and it happened
know.
this week, and it happened at the worst time for the Eagles. Let's
True.
take a quick break. We'll get into some other things: Eagles offense, Jalen Hurts, the wide receivers. But first, we're gonna take a break to hear from our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook.
Game night for me is every night. At the place where I meet up with the guys, grab a cold one, and watch the big game on the big screen. So whether it's the money line, the pass line, or a parlay, I'm in it to win it. This is my city, and this is my place.
All right, big thanks to our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook, where we also do our Inside the Birds pregame live show. And we had a great show. A lot of the things that we said in the show, Adam, Trey, like really did come into fruition here. We knew this was going to be a tougher game the second time around. We knew Washington was going to stay devoted to the run through thick and thin. And again, they had some thick moments for them, or thin moments in the second half there. It got a little dicey. And we also knew that Devontae Smith was going to be a bigger part of this game because he had only averaged 22 and a half receiving yards over the last 2 weeks, and they had to make him a part of the game. And this is crazy. I've never heard of a stat like this before, but he's the first player, apparently, according to the Monday Night Football crew on ESPN, the first player to ever have receiving touchdowns on his birthdays in back-to-back years.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Trey, you never had receiving touchdowns on your birthday in back-to-back years?
No, I got back surgery on mine.
Oh,
Yeah, we
birthday?
played in New York on my birthday one time, and I came off and boom, herniated disc.
Oh damn,
it was awesome. Good times.
Ooh.
Man, your injury history with New York is just like from the game you missed, and someone had to fill in and a lot of sacks to that is not very good. But Smith did have 6 catches, 39 yards. What did you think in general about the Eagle offense? Again, they had a very good shot to take the lead there or change the game. But I'd say after the Watkins touchdown, they still got the ball a couple times, and it just didn't look like Washington had a good beat on what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. It didn't seem like that they were in sync. It just seems like a couple of the passes were just off. It seemed like some of the timings was off. And I get it. Sometimes Jalen, to me, it looks like some of the throws were behind the receiver at times.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's more of a timing situation. So and that's what happens when you take time off. When you have all of this time off, and then sometimes when your practices are a little lax and you don't get it that full speed rhythm, and then here we are, where the ball is off, or if you're expecting them to be in one place but they're in another, and that's something that you're going to have to make sure that you go in and correct as you continue to move forward.
Adam, if you're the Eagles, because we always see the Eagles get involved with the competition committee when something really affects them. There have been a couple of rules changed because of things that impacted them. How strong of a push do you think they will make to have penalties count when you're reviewing a play? I mean, I think if we're going to say that Quez Watkins is the turning point, we also have to fold that in with Dallas Goedert's fumble there, because again, you get break down by his helmet.
Oh, you mean when a play's up for review? You mean on a turnover, you should be able to
count if there's a penalty involved. Yeah, that should be looked at. Because right now it's not.
Yeah, they can't. In fact, Belichick has tried multiple times. You can't. You should be able to. He's tried to get every flag reviewable.
Right.
He's had all sorts of tries to get the NFL to do a better job of making sure they get the calls right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Look, this is one where very egregious, embarrassing. In fact, Aikman caught it right. He wasn't, at first, like we all thought he got the ball. No, he got that face mask.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? That's bad. Yeah, that's bad. But look, they were sloppy. Washington, look, I give them all the credit in the world. Great coaching. This is a great job by them. Heineke, I mean, you see how limited he is. It's very clear to me what they're doing here. They know if they ask them for a lot, they're in major trouble. The more you ask them to throw, the worse it is. Just pound it. If Philly stops us, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. They hung in there, but yet all that running, okay? All that running does is keep the score down. It keeps the game close. and the Eagles had a chance to win, but they blew it with the turnovers. They would have won this game. They're so much better than Washington. Let's call it like it is. But I give their coaches credit. They coached a hell of a game. They deserve this. But we kind of know by personnel, if you compare everything, the Eagles are much better than them. But hey, better team doesn't always win.
Hey, listen, what do we say? What's the number one reason we thought the Eagles were undefeated? It's because they won the turnover battle. And this is the first time they did not win the turnover battle, and they turned it over multiple times in a game. Some of it a little bit flukish. So that's why I would agree with you. I think Washington's defense is really good now. I mean, St. Juice and the other corner Fuller, they made some really good plays. So I give them credit, but obviously they needed the Eagles to really kind of fall on their faces or some favorable calls or non-calls for them to be able to do that. With the call that where Heineke was not called for downing, the intentional grounding. They said he was outside the tackle box. I'm not sure about that one. What did you guys think? Did you guys agree with that?
When it was the snap went over his head?
Yeah, the snap went over his head.
Yeah, I mean, how far does the tackle box go back?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because it can't just be like, all right, between the tackles and it goes all the way back to the goal line, you know, so.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think that there was a depth to it. I thought it was just a width thing, not a depth
I'm thinking
thing.
They looked at it more of the depth of it just because of the snap.
Yeah.
And then now at that point, it's about, okay, if the ball gets to the line, get across the line of scrimmage.
Right. Okay. You know what? I also thought Jalen Hurts got away with one in the third quarter on their second series where they punted, because he was kind of scrambling around there inside the pocket and just threw the ball out of bounds, and they didn't whistle him either. Trey, as a player, the Eagles lost the game. Are they going to just wake up on Monday and say, hey, we lost the game? The whole dream is over of undefeated, or they're not even going to think that?
Yeah, I think they're going to wake up. You're going to get up Monday morning. All right, let's get back to work. Sometimes just like when I first said, hey, man, we're going to go undefeated. Everybody like, oh, man, I want them to lose the game because it helps you refocus. And I think that this is one of those games that, all right, you know what? Because you should have won this game. But all right, you get beat. All right, so now this is that smelling sauce that wakes you up. And all right, let's get back to work, because, I mean, the season isn't over with. It's not time to piss on the campfire. You just go ahead, you shake it off, and we get back to it, and you just take it from there. Yeah, you like that, piss on the campfire?
That was hilarious. Piss on the campfire. Heard that one.
I'm going to tell everybody, when we're on radio and people call up on the Fanatic tomorrow, when me and Adam are on, and people are like, oh, this is the word fire up. And they go, no. This isn't time to piss on the campfire. No. I don't know if we could say, we might have to say urinate. There's no time to urinate on the campfire.
We were allowed to say this on I got to think that this defensive run tape is so embarrassingly bad. The players, it's got to be humiliating, Trey. Let's just say an offensive, okay, so you were a lineman. Mm-hmm. Let's say you guys had your whole unit over the years. Let's say you had a bad game, right? Not just one guy. Collectively, you had a bad game. Would it not bother you when you watch the tape?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of those tapes you don't want to go back and watch, and it's going to be embarrassing. But it's, you know what, you have to take. You know what? When I was young, my mom and them, we used to take castor oil. You ever had castor oil?
I remember, but no.
Oh, yes. It was terrible. It was like you went to take it, and it just drops down your throat. It was the worst medicine ever, but it helps. You know what I'm saying? So this is that castor oil. You have to take your medicine to help you get better, because you're going to have to go back and study. Okay, look, this is what we did wrong. You just had 2 games where the running backs just had their way with you. So now, hey, you know what? Obviously, we didn't get it corrected after the Texans game. So now here we go again against Washington. Hey, look, we need to get this corrected. If winning the Super Bowl is our ultimate goal, and if we have the leadership that we think we have in this locker room, you guys need to watch this film, take this medicine, and let's move forward.
See, I always thought the castor oil was something that just tasted so horrid that everybody would just say, I feel a lot better. I don't want to ever taste that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was for parents who thought their kids were faking it. Yeah.
No, it was terrible.
Either that or so bad it just distracted you from whatever was bothering you in the first place.
Hey, Trey, let me ask you a question. Would we have a highlighter and say, what was this? Like, what would he say to you when you had a bad play?
Like we would go, everybody would sit in there and watch film, and he would we would, hey, look, you needed to do this and you needed to do that. We would have all of our corrections. We would go through all of the corrections as a group, and that's what's important as well. You can't do it where you just correct one person on their own. and then go somewhere else and, hey, man, why don't you come in here and watch it? No, you need to have everybody in there as a group, and they need to make these corrections as a unit. Because, I mean, because once you start singling guys out and making it, then it makes it even worse. So if you can correct everybody as a unit, it can only help this team get better.
Yeah, definitely. AJ Brown, by the way, four targets, 1 catch. Twice, not just the interception, but there was a slant that I think St. Juice did a nice job of jumping in front. And yeah, he had slipped on it. But he just didn't seem to have his normal juice tonight. And, I guess his normal juice. Wait, that
injury. Remember, he got hurt. He hurt his foot early in the game.
That's right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we mention that because I was like, oh, my goodness gracious. I hope it's nothing because it didn't look like something, but you can get fooled sometimes with these little – when you turned your foot on grass. But anyway, maybe you're right. Maybe he just didn't have it. I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, he hasn't had a game where he didn't bring it and he just didn't have it as much as usual. But look, their offensive tape was shaky. Although they had obviously the first couple of drives looked great, and then you sort of have lulls, and it seemed like Washington was starting to get a beat on what they were trying to do. And I think overall, the offensive line, we'll see what the pressure number. We'll look into the pressure numbers. But I don't think. I think what happened was they were uneven offensively. Sanders, by the way, ran the ball well. He didn't run a lot, but when he did, he ran the ball well. But the pass game was inconsistent. Had some big plays, some plays they left on the field. Now the one that Aikman said, I guess Galladay was wide open for a big play, and he threw it to Brown. Maybe I don't know what the play call was, but we'll have to find out about that.
McLaurin being wide open.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that because I feel like AJ, that injury at the beginning of the game for AJ Brown may have thrown him off for the rest of the game. I wonder if they just kind of like, all right, man, we just need you out here. We just need you out here, and we'll try to, be the decoy, but we need you out here.
Yeah, I mean, he only did have 4 targets, so only 3 after that. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know, to me, because it seemed like, because with the receivers, after even talking with Avant, you just never know when he slipped on that one play. It just seems like it was not good. So hopefully he's okay.
Yeah. We will see. I'm sure we'll get a full, thorough report Tuesday morning from on the injury front. The analytics people are going to look at this game and they're going to scratch their head. They're going to say, well, the Commanders only converted 57% on third down. The Eagles converted 63% on third down. The Commanders only averaged 4.1 yards per play. The Eagles averaged 5.6 yards per play. The Commanders, I mean, we're going to go, the red zone, I think also was favored the Eagles as well. The penalties were bad for both, 5 for 58, 7 for 75. But really, I mean, the analytics people are going to say, this is what happens when the ball just bounces off your fingers into the other guy's hands or you fumble. Because, Adam, as you just said, from a statistical standpoint, the Eagles averaged Eagles even had a better average per run, far better average per run, 4.7 than the Commanders at 3.1. There's really very few statistics where you say Washington outperformed the Eagles, except for, of course, the turnover battle.
But again, first half, look, they competed. I think they completed. They got 75% of the third downs, which is embarrassing.
Right, but that just shows you how bad they were in the second half. I don't think they had a single third down in the second half.
No doubt. They were terrible in the second half. In fact, look, the only touchdown they had was the of all people, Casey Toohill with fumble return. How fitting is that? Like, if you're going to lose.
Yeah, it's like salt in the wound right there.
Former Eagle, but this game was there. This game, I felt if Watkins doesn't fumble it, they're going to win the game because they had the momentum going. That was a big time throw, great catch. It's a shame because Watkins has done very little this season other than being a decoy. Yeah. He actually, because of that catch, wound up leading them in receiving yards. Yeah,
how about that? Very odd. All right, we're going to take one more break, come back, and just maybe take a look at what this loss means for the Eagles in the NFC, where they were in the driver's seat. But we want to take a break to hear from our friends real quick from
Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-6000. 7225.
All right, big thanks to our friends at Sky Motor Cars. If you go out there and see them in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. If you can't make it in, check them out at skymotorcars.com. 8-1 now. You know, like you're in the driver's seat. Now it's 8-1, and the Minnesota Vikings are 8-1. Now the Eagles have beaten the Vikings, so they sort of get that half game advantage there. But the Giants all of a sudden at 7-2 with 2 games left against the Eagles. Man, it's so 9-0 versus 8-1 is a huge difference right now, Adam, isn't it? I mean, you can see like you can't really slip up again and just expect to automatically get that number 1 seed.
No, look, they played the Colts Sunday in Indy. I get the Colts aren't a very good team, but they can certainly run the heck out of it. And Jonathan Taylor's over the ankle injury, at least seemingly right now. Then they play the Packers. You never know with the Packers. Plus, they when they decide they want to run, they can run. They've got 2 good running backs. But I still think that, if we're being honest here, the Eagles are still the best team in the NFC until proven otherwise. You're right. There's a big gap. Like if they would have won this game, plus you would have the confidence where you turn the ball over a ton, you still had a great chance to win it. That's the craziness of this game. And by the way, great call on the 4 field goals. Didn't you call that today?
I did. Not only did I call 21 points for the Eagles, because I called the 21-12 win. I called 21 points for the Eagles and 12 for Washington on 4
Unbelievable.
field goals. So the only thing I was wrong about was the 2 touchdowns.
One was a fumble return, right?
Yeah. One was flukish. I almost hit this thing on the head.
Nice job.
Thanks. Good job. I'm sure everybody's really happy for me. But also, Washington's 5-5. In fact, I think if the season did the whole if the season ended today thing, the entire NFC East is in the playoffs. Is that accurate? Because they're 5-5.
The conference right now, no, Washington would not be.
Oh,
because
okay.
The Niners have not played the 10th game. They're 5-4.
You're right.
But they're close. Look,
3 are in, and one's knocking on the doorstep.
And with her Carson Wentz right now, because Heineke keeps winning, he's not getting the job back. That's just the way it works in the NFL.
Now Carson's available to play next week. The Washington Commanders have. Do you remember who they play next week? I think it's the Falcons. I think it's the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. Which is a winnable game for them.
Week 12, 11. Is it week 11?
It's either the Texans or the Falcons.
Texans.
They're
I play the Texans.
Yeah, they're
and then the Falcons after. That's 2 winnable games. I mean, do you here's what I think happens. I think that they go to Carson Wentz, back to him. But if he struggles literally for a half against the Texans, then he's back on the bench and Heineke's in.
I doubt it. I really doubt it. Yeah, because here's what I know. Here's why
it's going to happen again.
I know, and I'm with you. Look, I would, but the problem is there are 2 issues. Rivera's a defensive coach. He cares about turnovers.
Right.
He's not an offensive coach. He sees it different. These defensive coaches see it differently. And 2, the players adore Heineke because he's moxie. He's got a lot of juice. They understand how limited he is as a passer, but hey, he gives you a chance. He had a terrible turnover. He never should have thrown that ball. But Wentz, I mean, the game that Eagles smoked him in week 3, Wentz was a big reason why they Washington lost that.
Oh, absolutely. Trey, do you agree with Adam? Do you think Wentz is done?
I agree. It's tough, man, because Wentz is such a good guy, but it just seems like everywhere he goes now, it's, he's losing out to the backup quarterback, and it's just been happening ever since 17. And it's just tough, man. Especially when your backup comes in and everybody rallies around them, and it's just in the team, and they go out and they win. It's just tough for them.
Does this mean the Commanders are going to win the Super Bowl now? I mean, is this?
No, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to go that far, but I mean, they definitely have something special going.
Yeah, they definitely do. It'll be fascinating to see. And then, of course, next week, Adam mentioned it, Jonathan Taylor, they got to figure out a way to get this thing rectified quickly. And by the way, if Matt Ryan's not completely done, Michael Pittman and who's the other receiver who's really Paris Campbell has really come on for them. Great. So it's not like they can't hit you with a little play action after they get Jonathan Taylor warmed up, and they've got some tight ends that can block too. So the recipe is there. The Eagles are really going to have to figure this thing out, Trey.
mean, I saw Slay getting beat tonight,
Yeah.
where I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, where's number 2?
Mhm.
Oh, there he is, 3-4 yards behind the receiver. I mean, that was very uncharacteristic, especially when you're giving up 6, 7, 8 yards anyway, and then you're still getting beat like that. That this is definitely something. This is a take your medicine game.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have to go back. You just got knocked off your high horse. What are you going to do next?
I agree. I thought Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson, I know he had the pick, but I thought there were a couple of times, especially in the first half, where he did not do a great job in coverage. Last thing I want to bring up. So there was some question as to whether on the 3rd and 13 that there was a penalty. This is the third quarter, right? There was a penalty that Nick Sirianni declined. Actually, was it 3rd and 7? Yeah, on the field goal. All right. And people said, well, why didn't you accept the penalty? It would have went from 3rd and 13 to 3rd and 18 because it was a false start.
Yeah.
My view is I understand why he did, because I think if they accept the penalty and it goes to 3rd and 18, what does every defense play on 3rd and 18? Back. What does the offense do? They throw a screen, they throw something. They get like 7 or 8 of those yards back. So there is a chance that he would have had a shorter kick if they accept the penalty and they get the 7 or 8 yard screen or quick run up the middle or whatever it is. So I don't think it was as egregious. By the way, that happened the next series that Washington had a 3rd and 13, a 3rd and 18, and they threw a little screen. Of course, it was short of the first down, but they picked up like 15 yards on it. So that just go to show people. I don't think Nick Sirianni made a bad decision there. It didn't wind up costing him in the end. However, special teams was not great again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the punt that Aaron Sipos had to run away his life from, what was that all about?
I don't know what that was. And remember, they gave him a 40-yard return, but there was a penalty in Washington for open the game, I think.
Yeah.
That was bad. There was no win there at all. That's the other thing. That Joey Sly's got a cannon. He's always had problems with accuracy. That's why he's bounced around.
Yeah.
But my goodness gracious, he's got a cannon. And this is a night, man, if you're go kick a field goal, because there's just no wind. It's rare at the length that there's no wind. We were talking about that in the pregame. And look, overall, they got to correct the run defense is a major work of progress. It's going to take a while. And Trey brought it up, though. The pass defense, they were so soft in coverage. What the heck was that about?
Well, we've talked about that quite a bit. They start off that way. They make adjustments, but sometimes it's a little bit too late. We will see what happens next week. We will all be back after Sunday's game when the Eagles face the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, we'll have the pregame show. The next Inside the Birds podcast will be our film review show, and that will drop Wednesday morning. So short turnaround for us. That's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds Postgame Live. For Adam Caplan, Geoff Mosher, and of course, Eagles Hall of Fame offensive tackle Trey Thomas. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.